A young woman, barely 19, steps toward what chroniclers would later call the most dangerous altar in Russian history. She carried inside her a substance that rumor claimed would end her life within a mere 15 days. Marfa Sobakina could not have known that a simple draft, offered by a mother desperate to secure her daughter's fertility, might turn her wedding night into a final, irreversible sentence. What should have been the consummation of imperial hopes became, according to court gossip, a spark for one of the most ferocious reprisals ever recorded in Moscow's annals. Ivan IV, history remembers him as Ivan the Terrible, believed his third bride had her life cut short through a misguided act of maternal love. Letters whispered of quiet weapons, hidden behind the curtains of the imperial chambers, powders and tinctures, said to cure, yet able to destroy without a trace. 20 people, reports insisted, would pay the price for a mother's perceived recklessness. A nobleman, it was said, was made a public example of in Red Square, while a crowd looked on in stunned silence. Whether every detail was true or embroidered, one thing was certain. The young Tsarina's sudden passing fed the paranoia of a ruler already feared for his merciless form of justice. These stories describe how Mercury, prized in the 16th century as a cure and an aid to conception, may have become the silent protagonist of a tragedy, echoing through the centuries. The bridal chamber of 1571 was not only the scene of a Tsarina's demise, but as writers later framed it, the birthplace of a terror that would plunge Russia into an empire of suspicion. 15 days, the accounts insist, held more treachery, anguish, and consequence than decades of open war. This is the tale imperial healers preferred to bury, the one hidden beneath court records for more than 400 years. On that fateful table, salvation and ruin were said to lie side by side, a mother's gift. Before we unpick how this disaster unfolded, consider showing your support if this opening revelation has caught you off guard. Imagine, if you can, the despair of a mother realizing she had doomed her daughter while only trying to help. Subscribe so you won't miss the royal secrets still waiting in the shadows of Moscow.
And in the comments, write the name of a queen or noblewoman you'd like us to investigate next.
Whichever name gathers the most votes will become the focus of another explosive inquiry.
Now, let us step back to the moment the stage was set for catastrophe.
The year was 1571. Across Russia, the Oprichnina, Ivan's feared regime of places. The Tsar, then 41, sought stability through dynastic continuity. 2 years earlier, his second wife had, with no robust male heir, Ivan launched what chroniclers described as the largest bridal contest Muscovy had yet seen. Envoys summoned more than 2,000 eligible maidens to the fortress of Alexandrovskaya Sloboda. The citadel, ringed by wooden walls, doubled as headquarters for the Tsar's dreaded bodyguard. Public punishments in its squares were said to be as common as daily meals, a grim reminder to the women who gathered there. Oprichnina. The selection followed strict Byzantine precedents. Physicians inspected each candidate with almost forensic zeal. Astrologers compared birth charts. searching the stars for signs of harmony or discord between maiden and monarch. At every stage, the field narrowed, from 2,000 hopefuls to 24, and then to 12 finalists.
Foreign envoys watched these proceedings with unease, their dispatches coded to evade interception. To them, the choice of a new consort was not mere courtly ritual. It touched the balance of power.
On June 26, 1571, the final decision was announced. Marfa Vasilievna Sobakina was declared the victor. Yet within days of her triumph, ominous whispers circulated. Marfa, they said, appeared pale, her strength fading. No physician of the time could diagnose her condition. Their prescriptions of herbs and prayers did little to halt the decline. Later generations suggested another cause, a potion prepared by her anxious mother to guarantee fertility. According to these narratives, the mixture contained mercury, believed then to quicken conception, but capable of ravaging the body from within. Marfa Sobakina thus entered Russian history as both bride and enigma, a prologue to storms yet to break over Moscow.
At 19, Marfa Sobakina embodied a radiance that court chroniclers called both divine and perilous.
She was the daughter of Vasily Sobakin, a wealthy merchant from Novgorod, whose fortune was beginning to rival the old boyars. Her presence hinted that Muscovy's future might rest not only on bloodlines, but on merit and enterprise. Facing her across the chasm of power was Ivan Vasilievich himself, a man whose legend was already blackened by suspicion and rage. At 41, he had accompanied 2 wives and 2 sons to their final rest, amid whispers of treachery. To Ivan, Marfa was the final chance to anchor the dynasty with an unassailable successor.
But in Novgorod, Marfa's mother, anxious about her daughter, turned to an old household remedy.
She is said to have measured the dose with trembling hands.
The wedding on October 28th should have displayed imperial triumph. Instead, it acquired the hue of an omen. Witnesses recalled that Marfa, beneath the weight of her bridal robes, looked frail, her cheeks drained of color. During the solemn exchange of vows, she twice swayed and collapsed. Priests hastened to interpret it as mystical modesty, but the physicians nearby noted something more troubling: tremors, perspiration, and pupils unnaturally wide. The fest faltered before midnight. Martha was escorted to the bridal apartments, rooms arranged with lavish oriental splendor.
The scents meant to kindle desire merely cloaked the sour tang of illness.
Ivan entered, expecting to claim his bride. Instead, he found a young woman fighting to remain conscious. Chronicles say he paced the chamber, torn between anger and alarm, summoning physicians who brought vials and prayers, but no remedy. Meanwhile, the potion prepared days earlier had already begun its merciless work. For 2 weeks, the court lived inside a tense stillness. Ivan, restless and sleepless, refused to leave her side. On November 13th, 15 days after the wedding, Marfa Sobakina breathed her last in the Tsar's arms. Ivan's grief hardened almost instantly into rage. Convinced that hidden hands had taken his wife, he launched a storm of vengeance. 20 people, attendants, medics, even distant relatives, were seized for questioning. The tragedy that autumn incubated the Tsar's most corrosive paranoia, pressing him further toward the brutal vigilance that would define his reign.
The vengeance that followed was as chilling as the rumors that caused it.
Chroniclers tell how Mikhail Temryuk was dragged into the square, where, according to accounts, he met a horrific end in a public spectacle. Marfa's grieving father avoided that fate, only to be forced into distant monastic exile. His sons were less fortunate.
What began as mourning swiftly became a purge, driven by a ruler convinced that hidden enemies had stolen his bride.
The investigation, led personally by Ivan, turned merciless. The chambers of interrogation echoed with cries. Testimonies pointed to Marfa's mother, who, the story went, had secretly mixed a potion to ensure her daughter's fertility. Its key ingredient, Mercury, was celebrated by healers of the day. To modern ears, it seems reckless. To them, it was advanced science. But by the time this confession surfaced, the scaffold had already claimed the innocent. Centuries later, scholars tried to untangle fact from legend. In 2009, forensic anthropologist S.A. Nikitin testing revealed traces of mercury in the bones, supporting, though not conclusively proving, the chronicler's tale. A facial reconstruction showed a young woman of striking delicacy, the contrast between that serene image and her recorded fate only deepening the tragedy. But beside the cultural legend lay a darker legacy. Ivan's grief, hardened into a paranoia that reshaped an empire. Historians link the aftermath of Marfa's passing to the Tsar's later atrocities, which shattered families and drenched Muscovy in fear. All of it, the storytellers insist, traced back to a single act of misguided love. A few grains of a substance, passed in secrecy, became in the lore. What are the secrets, one wonders, still hidden in the sealed ledgers of royal households? Imagine the torment of Marfa's mother if she ever realized her gift had brought ruin instead of blessing.
If Marfa Sobakina's tragedy has left you eager for the next revelation, make sure to subscribe and activate the bell.
Share this story with anyone fascinated by the veiled scandals that shaped nations, and tell us below which detail unsettled you most.
In upcoming episodes, we'll unearth further mysteries of royal bedroom and medchamber.
Marfa's fate, as tragic as it is, may prove only the opening chapter in a long chronicle of hidden dangers.
The next investigation promises revelations even more astonishing.